Welcome to Community Conversations. I am Queen Miss Ebony J. You're listening and watching 1230 The Buzz, your talk station, 101.1 The Wiz and 100.3 Cincy's R&B station. So glad to be here on another Sunday where we get to spotlight and talk to a nonprofit business about the great things that they're doing in our community. Now, we know there's a lot of things going on in the community right now, but we're here to have conversations that lead to solutions. And I'm excited because we have the president and CEO behind this whole entire organization today in the building with me. How you doing, Miss Darci?
I am good. Thank you so much for having us join you.
Oh, yes. We got backup today because Miss Darcia came in here and she brought a crew with her. We have Mr. Johnny Stone in the building. How are you, Mr. Johnny?
I am doing well today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And hey, Miss Leah McDonald, how are you?
I'm doing well as also.
Now, I want to go ahead and jump in just because somebody may be listening and is like, what is off the list? Just in case they're not familiar with it, Miss Darcia, can you tell us what is off the list and what is it that you all do?
Yes. So Off the List is a nonprofit organization that has three really specific goals as a part of our mission. One is to support the people and their families that are on the kidney transplant list. And another is to equip them with tools and resources to help them share their story and find donors. And finally, our mission is also to increase awareness about living kidney donation. So we really partner with families and donor champions and walk them step by step through the transplant process, really, for lack of a better word, once they get listed, and just give them lots of ideas and tools and resources, strategies, so they can get their story out there. Because we know we need more living donors, and we know that the only way that we're going to get more living donors is for more people that are on the transplant list to be out there sharing their story and creating conversations just like you are, to raise awareness and educate people.
Yeah, that's number one, is because we don't understand it, right? Now, let's go back in case I don't know our level of how everybody's listening. A kidney. What are things that we can do to prevent us needing a kidney, or what causes a kidney? Or you needing a kidney transplant? Because I know you can't cause a kidney.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So the two leading causes of kidney failure in our country are from high blood pressure, untreated high blood pressure, and diabetes. So those are the two leading causes. There are some people that are born with genetic conditions, and polycystic kidney disease is a big one that runs in a lot of families. And that would be cause also for somebody to need a kidney or go into kidney failure and then need some kind of treatment. And we think a transplant is that best treatment.
Yeah. Now, how has it been, since COVID, with getting people to donate, be a donor? Has it been hard? Has it increased, decreased?
It definitely decreased there a bit after COVID, because honestly, people were just afraid to go into hospitals. And that's where you go for the testing, right? To be a living donor. But it's definitely, we've rebounded now, and we're back up to, we still need a lot of living donors. Only about 20% of the kidney transplants that happen are from living donors. And we need more people to be willing to donate, because getting a living donor is preferred over a kidney from a deceased donor. It typically lasts double the lifetime. It's often a better genetic match. There's just a lot of reasons why a living donor is better for somebody like Johnny as a recipient who needs a kidney. So the good news is we've bounced back now from some of that fear of being in hospitals and going through the testing, which is good.
Now, nobody ever really wants to go and have surgery or voluntarily go to the doctor, but I know we know somebody may need our kidney, and that's the important part. Talk to us about that, because we have two kidneys that we come with. If you're giving up one, what are you losing? And I know we have Miss Leah, I want you to chime in on this one after she answers the question, but I just want to know, what can we tell somebody who's thinking that? Because we may want to give, but just scared, not having the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll give you a couple just things that I think are important for people to know, that sometimes there's misinformation out there. So 1 in 750 people are born with just one kidney, and they will live their entire life and never know. And so you can live a full, healthy life with just one kidney. And unless you go in for a scan, you would never know if you only had one kidney. Our bodies are amazing, and that one kidney can really take over the function and give you everything that you need. And I think people just need to know that most living donation, the surgery is typically done laparoscopically. It's not as invasive of a surgery. Most living donors go home from the hospital 24 to 36 hours after they've donated, which to me is incredible. And they are typically resuming exercise. I recently spoke to one living donor who ran a half marathon at 3 months post-transplant within 4 to 6 weeks.
When you say elliptosonic, what do you mean?
Laparoscopically?
Yeah, when you say that.
Laparoscopically. So that means that they do not have to cut somebody open to take their kidney. You end up with two very small little like scars. One of the entry points is for the camera, and the other one is to bring the organ out. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah.
Oh my, Miss Leah, what made you decide to get involved with On the List? Because I'm listening like, hold on, what? They don't even go into you. What do y'all do then?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, Get Off the List, it's a fantastic organization. And I have to say, before I got involved, I really didn't know a lot of these facts. So I think that there's so much information out there that we just aren't aware of. I got involved because Johnny Stone is my uncle. So I'm sure he'll give a little bit of his story as well, but he is in need of a kidney donor. And as Darci has said, a living kidney donation is by far the optimal way to receive a kidney. It's easier on the recipient. It's not terrible on the donor, and you have a much greater lifespan for the kidney to actually last and the person to thrive and get back to all of the things that they, have to give up, unfortunately, while they're waiting for a kidney, kind of like my Uncle Johnny. So I'd love to give him a chance to give just a quick highlight of his story and kind of, what's happening with him and what's going on. But absolutely, the time that I've spent getting to know Darci and getting involved with Get Off the List has just made me aware that there are more than 100,000 people that are waiting for kidney transplants, and all of us are here to hopefully healthy kidneys, and we could be helping those people. So it's absolutely something that I think people should get involved with.
Well, Mr. Johnny, come on and chime in, because you are the one who needed the transplant. You are the champion here. What was that like for you, needing a transplant and having to have that conversation with Leah to say, hey, can you give me yours?
Actually, I didn't ask Leah for her kidney. I asked her to be my champion. Okay, Leah and my son and my other niece are my kidney champions, and they provide the technical assistance that anyone who is asking for a kidney will need. So far as using social media. Leah is a market whiz. She knows so much. I just totally rely on her. But to tell you a little bit about my story, Darci talked about the most common types of reasons that people need kidney, and I'll give you another one. I'll give you mine. I lost my kidney function due to kidney stones. Okay, I have a disease called Crohn's disease, and I've had it, 50 years. And for the most part, other than surgeries, it never really caused me a lot of problem. But about 3 years ago, I started developing kidney stones. And eventually the stones blocked off my urine output, and it caused damage to my kidneys. So as a result, I ended up with kidney damage. And, it was pretty typical. I was kind of in denial at first, because um, whenever I would have a problem with blockage, the doctors would clear it out and I would get better. And so I figured, well, the last time, I'll get better, but it didn't happen. And I ended up, needing a kidney. And I came to reality, and I did something about it. I reached out to Darci, and reached out to my family.
Mhm.
And basically, here I am.
Mhm. Mhm.
Wow,
Mhm.
look at that. So it's been, you didn't struggle in silence because you reached out for help and you were
Yes.
able to get support from your family, because Off the List not only helps you find a donor, but helps the family support you during the case of if I say that right.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think what's really key, Ebony, is that a lot of this is a really, really hard journey. It's a really hard journey. There are a lot of ups and downs. Your hopes will get up because you think there might be a potential donor, and then they're disqualified for whatever reason. And so then you've got to pick yourself back up again and just keep on going. And I think what we don't want to have happen is for people to be alone and not and try to do it on their own. Because what I find is that if we can support people and in the importance of donor champions like Leah and Johnny's son and other niece, that's huge, because Johnny's on dialysis 3 days a week. That is not easy. He's going to doctor's appointments. And if he has to do all of that and share his story, it's overwhelming. I mean, and we have to remember too that he's in end stage kidney disease. He's tired. His blood, the toxins are building up in his blood. And while dialysis is helping temporarily with that, it's not a long-term solution, and not a good solution. And so it's really important for people that are on the transplant list to say, I need help. I need help, and ask people to come in and help them be their champions and to help guide them through this. Because if not, then we end up kind of in a vicious cycle, and people just wait, and the wait times can be quite long for a deceased kidney donor. They can be 3 to 5 years, and in some parts of the country, 8 to 10. And so we really want people not just to wait. Let's take action and let's try to find living donors. Get off the list sooner, and in a living donor kidney, it just has so many benefits like Leah talked about and I talked about earlier.
Now, if you're going to dialysis, is that as you're waiting for your kidney, or after you get your kidney, you still have to have dialysis treatment?
Johnny, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Dialysis is it's a treatment. In my case, I go 3 days a week for 3.5 hours. I go Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and they hook you up to this machine by way of needles, and you basically sit there in a chair for 3.5 hours waiting for your blood to be cleaned. It's as Darci said, it's basically a temporary solution. It's got major drawbacks because it's hard on your body, it's hard on your heart. When you come off of it each day, you never know how you're going to feel. Some days you may feel, halfway decent. Other days you may be wiped out. Because in addition to cleaning your blood, they pull off fluid, and if some days they may pull off, say, 2 pounds of fluid or 4 pounds of, and it's hard on you, and it takes a lot from you when they do that. But the ideal solution is to get a transplant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the ideal solution.
When you get a transplant, there's no more dialysis.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Now I'm just trying to make sure I understand because
Yes.
I don't get help. This ain't my field, y'all. But I
Yes.
sure that those that are listening are getting their answers, their questions answered while they're listening to know what they need to know. Now, you said something a little bit earlier about there being a difference between you being a living donor and then someone's that's deceased. Can we kind of talk about those differences and the benefits?
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Leah?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we've already mentioned, a deceased donor is honestly exactly what it sounds like. If a person is deceased within a short window of time, your organs are able to be transplanted to other people. The challenge with deceased donors is that the organs from deceased donors typically don't last as long as they do when you have an organ from a living donor. So in the case of a kidney, as Darci was mentioning, a healthy kidney from a living donor can last 15 years. I mean, there's a range, but I would say, on the good side, you can see something that's going to last for, call it 15 years. From a deceased donor, that time frame is much shorter. There's also a much greater chance of rejection. So when you receive an organ from another person, you are going to have a process where that organ is getting acclimated to your body. And during that time, you're taking, anti-rejection medications, you're doing different things to make sure that your body is the best possible home for that new organ, that it can be. The challenge is with a deceased organ, you're going to see rejection rates be a lot higher. So imagine being on the list for, call it 3 years, getting an organ and rejecting that organ. So you've gone through surgery, you've gotten your hopes up, and now you have to start the process all over, which can be extremely defeating. When we have a living donor, which means that basically you go and you get tested to find out if you can be a match for another person. You go through a series of different tests. Most of them are covered by insurance, including your surgery and everything. So really no out-of-pocket cost. I can't say no, but typically no out-of-pocket cost for the person that is actually giving the organ to another person. So you go through all these different things. You donate your organ. The person who then receives your organ has received a living donation. And so that means that essentially you just got an organ from a person who was alive and who shared their organ with you. And as we've mentioned a couple of times now, that has a much greater potential of being a match for the person, lasting longer, very quickly acclimating to that person's body. So not having as, severe of a chance of rejection or any of the other challenges that you might have when you have a deceased donor. And while I don't want to make it sound like don't be a deceased donor, because there is definitely a place for that, right? We absolutely want people to still continue to be organ donors, upon their passing. But it's just, if you have an option and an opportunity to be a living donor, it really can help the person. And I know Darci's mentioned a couple of times also, but it really is not the strain on you that you would think it would be. So I think that is another thing just to keep in mind. And I mentioned insurance and all those different things, but it's, not the financial investment that you might think it would be either.
Can I just add
Now,
to that?
yes, you can.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Usually when you get a organ from a deceased donor, the hospital will give you a call and say, you've got 1 hour to respond to us and 3 hours to get here. And if not, they're gonna look for somebody else to give the organ to. Okay, with a live donor, you can actually schedule it, okay? You can decide, when you're gonna go, and it's a lot neater, a lot better way of doing it.
A lot less stress on the family.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Oh, I had a question, but I forgot. No, you're fine. No, I wanted to ask Miss Leah about it. We were talking about the being a donor and making sure you said something that dropped my eye. My question was, what is the difference when you were preparing? Like, I decide I want to be a donor. Is there something that you can't eat, things you can't do? Like, you have stipulations to live by to be a donor? Is there something that qualifies or disqualify you from being a donor? That was my question.
Yeah, Darci may want to jump in here also. I mean, I can say that like I have not been a donor, so let me say that clearly. But having been through, you know, conversations, learning more about the process, all of those things, the people that I've talked to that have either donated or been a part of a transplant process, there's a medical testing process that you undergo. So there are things that potentially could rule you out if there are things that are found out about you genetically, or, you know, maybe like to Darci's point, there's things we don't even know about our bodies unless we get certain types of scans. So those are the types of things that I know can kind of rule you out from being a donor. But in general, it's still worth getting tested if it's something that you're open to doing or willing to do. As far as, you know, taking care of like yourself or not being able to eat things, I'm not as familiar with that, but I can say that, you know, it really is just about the things that you would do to keep up with your health every single day. So, I mean, and I think the things that, you know, most of us like kind of strive to do just to be healthy individuals are similar to the things you would do if you were going to be a living donor.
Yeah, absolutely. There are no restrictions after somebody has donated a kidney. They don't have to go on a special diet. They don't have to take medicines.
Well, no, not after, but I'm saying before. You know, if there's something that we need to do, you know, if you the donor, you don't have to find your own donor. You all find the donor for the person.
Well, so what we do in working with the families is help them effectively share their story to get it out there. Because what we aren't doing is we're not like going up to like Sally on the street and saying, hey, please give your kidney to Johnny, right? That often doesn't go over real well. And most recipients and champions don't want to do that either. So really what we're doing is just sharing the story, and then they're going to have a reaction, or they're going to learn more, right? So it really, that's just our job, is to keep on sharing, be consistent in doing it and getting it out there. Yeah. And then really and I feel pretty strongly about really what we tell people is, you know, we give them contact information for the transplant center, and they are the medical people, right? Because sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, well, what will eliminate this person? Well, you know what? I mean, really in medicine, there are some black and whites, but not, I mean, there's still gray areas. And so I never want to be, neither do Johnny or Leah or any of our families. We don't want to be the person to rule somebody out. Right. So we just want to be like, no, please call the transplant coordinator, let them talk you through the different options, let them do what their job is. Right. And because we never want to eliminate somebody, because we really don't know. We really don't know what might disqualify somebody and what might not disqualify somebody. So yeah, I think it's our job is just to keep getting that story out there, so we get people learning more and calling and saying, hey, I want to see if I can be a donor on behalf of Johnny. And then they walk them through that process.
So if somebody right now and they, you know, they heartfelt led, they want to be a donor, or they want to learn more about being a donor, maybe even donating for Mr. Johnny, how do they go about doing it? What's this next step?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have a website where they can register and fill out information, which we'll be happy to share that, so that's something that can be shared. And that is a place where it would start the process of the person getting tested, finding out more information, and being able to potentially be a match for Johnny's kidney journey.
And also, I think anybody can go to Johnny's Kidney Journey on Facebook. Yes. And there are updates on there. All the information is on there, like the link to the form to fill out. His story is on there, lots of pictures. Johnny has 3 adorable grandchildren that call him Daddy Stone. And, you know, so it's a great place to go and just really learn more about, like, who is Johnny? What does he, you know, enjoy doing? How he gives back to the community through, you know, visiting shut-ins, and he's involved with his church, and he's a veteran, and all those kinds of things. Like, that's where people really can learn more, and then a lot of times make that emotional connection of, oh, wow, like, right. And then that's what really moves them forward to learn more. When you talk to people that have been living donors, there's often something that they have connected with in in their story. So we work really hard to put those stories together and gather that information to really paint a picture of who is Johnny if you've never met him before.
Tell us the website that we can go to, please, to get more information.
Yeah, we have the UC registration page. It's a little bit of a long link. There's not a short link, so it's a little hard to say, but it's a UC registration page, which I'm happy to share that link. And if I don't know if there'll be a place to put it in the comments or do something like that, but the best place to find it is to find us at Johnny's Kidney Journey on Facebook.
Mhm.
So it's kind of right behind me. If you're watching this, you can see Johnny's Kidney Journey.
Johnny's Kidney Journey. Make sure you head on over to Facebook to get connected. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for coming to join us today. Off the List is doing amazing things. We appreciate you all. Keep doing your thing. And if anybody else need to come on and share their stories, please feel free to reach back out to me. But as you all heard earlier, Johnny's Kidney Journey, head on over to Facebook right now just so you can see him, so you can get to know more about him. And if you're interested in being a donor or learning more about being a donor, on his page, there's details right there just for you. This is Community Conversations on 1230 The Buzz, your talk station, 101.1 The Wiz and 100.3 Cincy's R&B station. If you would like to access the direct link so that way you can go and connect, don't worry, just head on over to one of our social media pages and we will hook you up with those details. Coming back with more Community Conversations after these messages.